In 2019, when we calculated our energy use reduction from baseline, the energy use reduction was 23.1%. So we were really anxious to see what COVID would have as an impact on the energy use of the buildings. We expected it to be a quite steep reduction. When we aggregated all of the data and pulled it together, it turned out that we had a 29% reduction over baseline. What was interesting is that offices went down as a cohort by 4%, and multifamily buildings went up as a cohort by almost the exact same amount, 4%. So that kind of made sense as people were shifting their work from the office to their home. Hospitals and medical facilities stayed about the same. Are there ways that we can address those health-related concerns for the indoor air quality while also reducing energy use? And you can, but you have to adapt your systems. So maybe our facilities managers and our property owners need to start looking at on-demand or demand-controlled ventilation, which would basically just bring the additional air into the building when you actually have people in the building, as opposed to 100% of the time. Many of our property partners have already added occupancy sensors and motion detectors, but maybe we could do more of that.
Our facilities department approached us. They saw an opportunity to more actively manage the power settings on our computers and save some more energy. And we took a look at our existing settings and found some stuff in there that didn't quite fit our needs anymore. And we decided to take a fresh approach and see what improvements could be made. Aside from the power savings, we were able to share some data with our employees, some of the before and after stuff. And with that, we were able to increase awareness of the energy consumption by our computers, as well as gain better acceptance for some of the different settings we put in place. Just by allowing computers to sleep and hibernate when they weren't being used, we were able to reduce our overall computer power consumption by about 70%. During a year of normal use, we're looking at about $65,000 to $70,000 in savings. One of the things that changes all the time is device management strategies, so we'll have to continue to adapt to those in order to continue to be successful in saving energy.
2020 saw a big increase in renewable energy, the commitment to renewable energy from our property partners. So first of all, within the energy purchase itself, which is the aggregated district energy purchase, our property partners purchased 196,000 renewable energy credit. Allegheny County entered into an agreement with Rye Development to purchase several megawatts of hydroelectric power at the Emsworth Dam. There were many solar arrays that were implemented, so CCAC, Global Links, the airport, and Mill 19 out at Hazelwood Green have all installed solar panels just in the last year, so that's amazing. In 2019, the data for water showed that the district had reduced water use consumption by 19.8%, but in 2020, the water use reduction was 42%. Again, we wanted to know why, and I think the biggest answer with that is that water use is almost entirely an on-demand utility, so you only use the water when the individual calls for the water. So that's the biggest reason. There were a few other impacts to the water use. One is that many of the properties turned off or closed their water features or their fountains, really just to avoid being an attraction for crowds to come and gather. They wanted to discourage that, particularly at the beginning of the virus before we knew that much about it. Some of the discretionary cleaning was suspended, so cleaning your windows might not have been a priority during a pandemic.
We had a roof that had some challenges. We had some leaks and the waterproof membrane was failing. So we had kind of two choices at that time. One, we could replace it, the waterproof membrane, and then also replace it with the 50,000 square feet of a concrete surface, which was the walking surface for the rooftop. Or we could do something very unique and create what I think is going to be, and is, some really unique, environmentally friendly function space for the building, for both our out-of-town guests, conventioners, and also our local community. I think the key for us is partnerships. We've developed some great partnerships over the last 18 years we've been here at downtown, but I think there's some more things that we can do. Partnerships like the Western PA Audubon Society, they were instrumental in helping us develop the Monarch Way Station Butterfly Station that has been up on this rooftop for 15 years. We want to expand that. We're going to have over 2,500 square feet of rooftop garden space. We think there's a lot of downtown community partners that want to be part of that and can use it as an educational program. For us, that's a big part of who we are. We were built and received the gold LEED status, and then, which is even harder to do, we've achieved platinum status for existing building operations. So we're very proud of that. So every decision we make has that as the undertone of what we do. And for us, so when we designed this, that was a big part of this. Number one, we didn't want to do anything that would take away from the views. We wanted to enhance that, so that's number one. But for us, environmental sustainability, such as water runoff, this space alone is we're going to divert over 26% of the total runoff that would happen on this roof. That represents over 100,000 gallons of water in the course of a year. That's significant.
The GBA in the 2030 district did their very first indoor air quality survey in the first quarter of 2020. So before COVID really was well known or that anybody was paying attention to it. So that was sort of fortuitous for us because now we had a baseline that was pre-COVID, and we asked all the questions and got all the answers, but then we analyzed them and reviewed the results of that survey with our property partners in the summer and the fall of 2020, which was when we were full into COVID. So now all of a sudden we had a lot of interest. We took the survey before COVID, but now we're in COVID and we want to know how we can improve our air quality and what can you tell us? The indoor air quality survey that we conducted before COVID, it pulled what we call recommendations and interventions from a variety of sources. What does ASHRAE tell you to do? What does Fitwell or LEED or any of the other certification programs tell you to do to improve air quality? And then we evaluated whether the owners of the buildings had implemented those interventions. And I think overarching recommendation was that you need to dilute the air. So if you can bring in more outside air and dilute the air and not allow concentrations of the virus to accumulate in small enclosed areas was the conclusion.
When the pandemic hit and our students left and we were having to shut buildings down, we just realized still just how much energy we do use, even though we were being as efficient as possible. And I think that was a big surprise for us, that it showed us that just how much more we have to go, even though we think, wow, we're doing great.
Kind of forced us to get out of our comfort zone a little bit, where we were able to trust our equipment more, to shut down earlier, come on later, without, making it uncomfortable for the occupants.
The university, we had two large programs. One, our COPA, Conservatory of Performing Arts. So you have dance, which, is affected by what is it? We learned that COVID is by breath, by the droplets in the air. So what are they doing? They're out there they need to dance. Acting, so they're vocalizing, they're talking, they're singing. Cinema we have. Again, they're doing what we're doing here, where we have to be socially distant. So those were things that we knew we were going to have to look at, I think, even before a lot of people kind of understood what indoor air quality meant, as far as the pandemic goes. The first thing we did was all of our filters, we went to the MERV 13, even really before the recommendations came out that that's what we should. We kind of went to that as an early adopter. And then working with Pittsburgh Train, we knew that we were going to have to really monitor these spaces because of having these high-risk activities throughout the university. So we worked with Pittsburgh Train on coming in, looking at our equipment, and looking and saying, how can we bring in more outside air? What recommendations can we do? And it's really helped us a tremendous amount.